Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to use Google Calendar. So there's a couple ways to log into Google Calendar. And the first way is if you are already logged into a Google application such as your Gmail or your Google Drive, you can find 9 dots at the top of your page, which you can see here. And if you click on them, you can just quickly scroll down and you can see Google Calendar and you can click on it and it will take you to your Google Calendar. Now, if you're not logged into your Google account, before taking you to your calendar, it will ask you to put in your Google credentials to log in. You do need a Google account in order to have a Google Calendar. The second way to log in is if you simply go to your web browser at the top of your page, you can type in calendar.google.com and it will also bring you to your Google Calendar that way. So we're going to get started. The first thing I always look at is kind of the setup of my calendar. So right now I can see that I am looking at the month of December. And I like looking at the monthly view just because it gives me kind of an overview of future events happening, but sometimes you might want to look at it in a different way. So if you go to the top of your screen, you can see that you could look at it in many different ways. So you could look at it as just as a day. So if you just wanted to see what your day looked like, you could look at the weekly view. The monthly view we already saw. You could see the yearly view. Schedule is if you have things already scheduled and you want to see all the events that are happening. This is nice. So if you have a meeting coming up and you want to make sure that it's not interfering with anything that you already scheduled, you can look at it that way. And then 4 days is just 4 days in advance. So these are nice views to decide of how to look at your calendar. So going over to the left, we have two different types of calendars. There's My Calendars and Other Calendars. So the My Calendars section are all calendars that are specific to you. And these 4 calendars are automatically created when you create a Google account. So you can see that my first one is just my name. And sometimes depending on what your Google account is already listed as, it could be your email address or just your name. They also created birthdays, reminders, and tasks for you. Now, birthdays is if you already have some birthdays already saved into your Google account or saved somewhere, they will sync to your birthday calendar. The other calendars are calendars that are shared with you. So right now I have holidays that are shared with me. Another example would be, let's say my secretary decided that she wanted to create a calendar for the whole staff and she sent it out and that was shared with us, then that would also appear under other calendars. So right now you can see that the holidays, there is a green box next to it. So all of the holidays right now that are appearing on my calendar are also in green. They're also listed as an all-day event. So you'll see that they appear different than when we make an event that's just at a specific time. So for example, this Christmas Eve event is highlighted all the way in green because it's saying that it is all-day event. All right, so I'm going to create an event. So there's 2 ways to do this. The first way, up at the top, I can actually click on the button that says create. And notice that it puts it on the exact day that today's date. But let's say I didn't want the event to be on that date. I could always go here and change the date, or I could actually do it a different way. So I'm going to exit out of this. And I'm going to go to January so I can kind of see an overview of a whole month here. And let's say I want to schedule an event for January 7th. I'm going to click exactly on that date. And I'm going to create an event that is called meeting. Now, notice that it's already set up for January 7th, but if I add the time, let's say I want it for a specific time, and I'm going to say this meeting is at 3:30 and it goes until 4:30. Now, there's some options here. I can add guests, I can add a location, and I can add a description. But before I click save, I'm going to click on more options. And here I can see a lot of these things that were already listed on the previous page along with some other options. So up at the top, you can see my event, which is meeting. It is January 7th, 3:30 to 4:30. If I click on all day, that will mean that my meeting is all day, which I do not want to click right now because I do have a specific time. It's not an all day meeting. But I do want to click on repeat. So I want to say that this meeting will occur weekly on Tuesdays. And you could have this occurring many different ways. You could have it monthly, annually, every weekday, and you could even customize it to repeat a certain amount of weeks, days, months, etc. So I'm just going to have it repeat weekly on Tuesdays. And again, these are some more options. So I could add the location. I could add conferencing through Google Hangouts if I wanted to. Notifications, there are two types of notifications. So the first one is a notification if I am logged in on my phone or my laptop with my Google account. I could set up a notification to come to one of those devices, and I could set up the amount of time. It could be in minutes, hours, days, weeks in advance, so that I'm notified for that event. So let's say I just want 10 minutes. I could also add another notification, and this could be an email notification. And let's say I wanted the email notification to be 10 hours prior to the event. So now I have two notifications set up. Let's say I wanted to delete them. I can simply click on the X button. Now I can see here that this calendar is linked to the personal one that I had. So you can see I can change the event color, but I try not to do that because if I choose all different colors for the events for that one specific calendar, it gets a little confusing. So I try to keep all of the colors the same for each specific calendar. Now under here is busy or free. That is just your status. So let's say somebody else wanted to create an event at work for the same time. If you are set as busy, they will be notified that you are busy during that time. Now if you're set as free, they will not know that there's a conflict. And lastly at the bottom, you can add a description and you can change some text settings here with that description. Over here to the right, you can add guests. So if you click on this box here, you can type in some email addresses or some names that are saved to your Google account, and you can invite them. There are some options that you can allow your guests to have permission to. You could allow them to modify the event, they can invite others, or they could see the guest list. So I'm just going to click Save for right now. And you can now see that every Tuesday at 3:30, a meeting repeats. And you can see that the color correlates with my calendar, and they're all the same color. And they also do not have a bolded highlight all the way across the event because they're not an all-day event. So let's say I wanted to add another calendar. So let's say that 3:30 meeting was a personal meeting, and I wanted to add a work calendar. So I named this work. Your time zone should be automatic to where you are, and you're going to create your calendar. And notice that my calendar was created. So I'm going to go back. And now under my calendars, work was created. So let's say I want to now create an event under that calendar for work. So I'm going to create an event actually on the same day on the 7th, and I'm going to name this as work meeting. So I'm going to have two meetings that day. This one is work meeting. And the time for this one I'm going to make is 5 o'clock. And again, I could add guests and add locations and everything else that I could do for the other one. Now, the thing that you want to change here is your calendar. So notice that I now have a drop-down menu that's available because I have two calendars working. And I'm going to put this under my work calendar and save it. Now, I could go into more options like I did for the other one, but I'm not going to do any of that. I just want to keep it just as it is. So notice that under the 7th, I have 3:30 meeting, which is linked to my personal calendar, and my 5 o'clock work meeting, which is linked to my work calendar. So if I wanted to just look at specific calendars, let's say I only wanted to look at my work calendar, I can actually uncheck all of the other calendars, and this will allow me to see just my work calendar. And I can also bring them back by clicking them. And the other thing is that you can also go from month to month by clicking the arrow. And there's also a settings option up at the top, a settings menu. So you can look at settings, and there's a lot of different things here you can do with your calendar. So you can change the language, the time zone, some event settings. You could, there's notifications and different events. So there's all different options that you can also look at other than the specific ones that we talked about. So you can go back to settings. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it beneficial, and thanks for watching.